Hi, this is Ray from Whitney Automotive, and this is our 2006 Mazda 3 Treasure project, and this is not. I put front struts on the Mazda 3 project. The video turned out horrible, so a buddy of mine needed struts on his, so we're about to make the video on that. Last time you probably saw me bounce on the front of it, and you can see how bouncy the front end was. That's a good way to tell if you need struts. Another way to see if it's leaking, you can see all the oily residue here from when the strut has leaked out over the years. That's another good indicator that you need front struts. Here are the tools we're going to be using. I have a 14mm pair of vice grips and a pair of pliers because I anticipate the sway bar link's not going to come off. 14mm wrench, a flathead screwdriver, a hammer, some penetrating oil, 32mm axle nut. Last but not least, I'm going to use an air impact wrench right here for getting off nuts and bolts, and an air hammer. If you don't have an air hammer, this job's going to be a pain in the butt. Get ready for it. If you do have an air hammer, it's still a pain in the butt. But this right here is going to make it a lot easier. Just a bullnose end in it. This is our new strut assembly. Comes with a new mount, bearing, spring, and strut, and you're going to need a sway bar link unless it's been off recently. Okay guys, you might notice I switched sides. I again had the whole thing apart, put the whole thing back together, looked back at the camera halfway through, thought it was recording, and it wasn't. So this is my last try. This is the fourth strut I'm doing where I'm hoping I don't have a camera issue. So if you hear the frustration in my voice, it's not at the car, it's at the damn camera. First thing I'm going to do is grab my 32mm socket. I'm going to pop that axle nut loose, and now you get to loosen the air compressor in the back. I'm going to take my flathead screwdriver here. I'm going to take off this little horseshoe clamp that's holding this brake line on. Just pry that out of the way. You'll notice that there is an arch in it, so when you go put it back on, make sure the arch is pointing up. Boom. Now this car has ABS, so this is the ABS harness and the ABS connector. If your car doesn't have ABS, you're not going to have to worry about this. But just disconnect that, push down on the tab, and wiggle it out. They usually come off pretty easily, even with age. Now, the tool that I forgot to mention at the beginning was a 17mm socket, so I'll probably go back and edit that in. But that's going to go right through here. I'm going to go ahead and 17mm socket right there. Boom, back that guy out. We have that. Now the last thing left that's holding this strut is our sway bar link. 14mm. If you look in there, there is a hex head where you should be able to hold it and hit it with a wrench at the same time, and it'll hold the ball from moving. However, that never seems to work. So I douse it with some penetrating oil. We'll see if we get some kind of luck with getting this thing loose. And no, there's no luck there. You can see it's just spinning. That's why I have these pliers right here. I'm going to go ahead and try to just pop the back off. Boom. I'll go ahead and pop the bottom half off too, right there. Then it has this plastic housing that goes around the ball socket. So I'm just going to try to pop that off as well. Get all that junk out of the way. And then I got my vice grips. Vice grips go on the ball. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that down. I'm getting older, I can't get them as tight as I used to. We'll see if that holds. Hit that. Boom, pops right off. The bottom's a little bit tougher angle to get an air wrench on, so we'll probably do that one by hand. But in the meantime, again, this is the ABS bracket. You might not have it if you don't have ABS. Now, this is the part right here where we haven't disconnected the top yet, the bolts on the top. We just have this part loose. So we're going to take our air hammer. This is the part where if you don't have an air hammer, you're going to get really comfortable hitting this right about there, right about there. So I'll give it a couple smacks just to loosen it up some. And I'm just going to get up here. I'm going to get in the corners of the knuckle, or where it forms a sleeve, and push down on it firmly and drive it down. I'm right there. You might notice I took the nut off to begin with. You'll see the axle start to pull out. I don't want that inner joint to come apart. If it does, I just have to slip it back together. But if I keep it together, great. So I'm just gonna drive in here. Oop. Make sure that's not seized towards the front. All right. Now that strut's loose all the way on the bottom. What are we gonna do now? We're gonna take our 14 back up top. And one, two, and as we take off the last one, we're gonna hold on to the bottom so it doesn't fall out. Now while I got the strut out of the way, I'll go ahead and I'll get this bottom nut off of this sway bar where the end link was, because I got a lot more room to play with it right now. Am I still recording? I fucking hope so. Alright, that's out. Now getting ready to go back in, this is your mount. It looks like a triangle on the top. That's easy to see, but all three of the bolts are not equidistance apart. So you have to line it up, and it's only going to line up one way. So we're just going to lift it up in here and see if they... Oh, first try. If not, just spin it. And they give us new bolts with it here. Hope I got that in the kit. I'm not going to tighten these up just yet. I'm going to get them bottomed out finger tight, but I'm not going to wrench on them yet. Okay, now comes the other tricky part of this job, trying to get this back in that. We're going to go ahead, if you look on the back of the strut, there is a finger that does have to fit in this slide right here. I do have... Alright, now my axle is in all the way. If it's out here and the boot looks like it's stretched out and it's not going in all the way, get it so it feels like it's lined up. Tap it like that and boom, it'll pop in. Just gonna make sure that's in the hole. Alright. And again, we're just gonna try to get this to sit in the sleeve. Lift up on it. Now if I need to make some adjustments to get it lined up, I'm not trying to bend the bracket, I'm actually pulling on the strut so the whole thing will turn when I do that. There we go. This looks pretty straight. Pretty straight, pretty lined up. All right, now here's what I'm going to do next. Down on the bottom you have your lower ball joint. I'm going to get my floor jack and I'm going to get on that lower ball joint, and I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it. You see it starts to slide together, but it's going to stop and compress the spring. Wiggle it, hit it a few times, make sure my little finger is lined up, which it looks like it get a little closer. How's that? All right, a little more pressure. Hit it while we're wiggling. You'll see I'm a little bit closer. I'm gonna pop my air hammer back on. I gotta fix that. Get underneath here. And it looks like I'm about in. There's a little metal plate that's welded to the back of the strut that will hit the end when you're all the way in. All right, So now that I got that, you see it pulled it right off of the jack. All right, just move the jack out of the way. Take your 17. Oop, wrong side. Go ahead, put that back in. If it doesn't thread, don't force it. It can strip out, and it's part of the threads are part of the knuckle. Peek in there and make sure that your if it's not going in, make sure your bracket on the back of the strut isn't pinched or isn't crooked, and then none of it's visible through the hole. Tighten that back up. Do this. Figure out where I put my axle nut. Okay, now I'm going to go back up top. And I've got these I'm going to tighten up. First thing, I'm going to take this brake line, feed it in there from the bottom. Slide this in on top again with the arch facing up. Grab my hammer. Tap that bad boy in. Now I just gotta get my swaybar link in. Line up one side. And the other. Don't forget our ABS connector bracket. Get that started. This actually came with 15mm nuts instead of 14. These aftermarket ones, most aftermarket ones do have a nut head on the back of them that you can hold to break them loose, unlike the factory ones that just have that hex fitting in the middle of the stud that always seems to rust out. 15. Alright. Get my wrench on there, wrench this one up. Of course, my buddy got me the ones with the grease fittings on them, so I got to go ahead and put my grease gun on there. I don't like the ones with grease fittings just because it's one more thing to have to do, but you see how beefy this damn link is. It ain't going nowhere. Also gives you the ability to grease them over time if you suspect that they might be starting to make noise. Okay, take my ABS sensor, connector, put that in. Boom. Our strut's done. All I gotta do is pop the wheel on and we're gone. So again, we did this one on this vehicle instead of the Project Mazda 3 behind me because I already did them on that. I just had problems recording it. So please like and subscribe as we continue to fix things on that. We're starting to do some engine work on it. We have a lot of interior stuff coming up, which is going to be pretty cool. So please like and subscribe to the video. I appreciate it greatly. And thanks for watching. This is Ray's Driveway.